Let's get loud. Listen, Alexa, play Let's Get Loud by Jennifer Lopez.
Here's Let's Get Loud by Jennifer Lopez on Amazon Music.
A bit longer, I think. But you know, I'm a Scorpio, and I'm done with something. I'm done with something, right? Anyways, hi everybody. Welcome to this workshop called Life After Deconstruction, Crafting a Spiritual Practice. My name is Kevin Miguel Garcia. I'm 32 years old. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. My pronouns are they and them. Astrologically speaking, I am a Scorpio sun, Gemini moon, Pisces rising. So if you're an astrology girl out there, you're gonna probably gonna know a few things. You're gonna be like, wow, that explains a lot about this person. Also, panels are a little, don't worry, it's only Pisces rising. As we're going along, do what our friend Tyler in the chat is doing and like chat along with me, talk back as we're going along. And if you have a question about something that you want answered later on, make sure that you go to the bottom of your screen and use the Q&A function so that we make sure that we do not miss it. Any questions that you put in the chat, I'm going to try to get to them, but I'm not going to guarantee that I'm going to see them. Okay, so if you want your question answered, for shy, you know what I mean? Go ahead and put that down there. Wonderful. Okay, I love y'all. Thank you for coming. A little bit more about me. I'm Mexican and Irish. I'm genderqueer. I live with chronic anxiety and depression. Holler out to the meds people out here. 200 milligrams of Wellbutrin and 100 milligrams of Zoloft does me really good, you know. I am a cannabis user. And I think that we need to stop being shy about things like that because it's really stupid and it's also a justice issue. And the less we talk about it, the less we're going to actually get anywhere with legislation. I wrote a book 2 years ago called Bad Theology Kills, Undoing Toxic Theology, Reclaiming Your Spiritual Authority. And of course, I don't have one next to me because I would hold it up. It's like over there. So I'll grab it before the end of the night and come over and show you. But oh my God, someone said blaze and praise. Wow, you are my favorite person. I know I always say, let's put that on a shirt, but that's actually a really good idea. Anyways, I wrote that book. I finished my MAPT, and in the middle of my last semester of seminary, the world shut down because of the OG coronavirus, the first one. And it was back when like all the celebrities were just like, you know, we've been doing this for a week, and they were just like, imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. And they just was like, no key. Like, where's the key? I don't know. It was pretty amazing in the worst way. But like that, they thought that was going to be the thing that was going to get us through the last 2 years. It's amazing. You know what I'm saying? But what was, at the time, I was struggling really, really hard because I was coming to the end of my seminary degree. I originally started to get an MDiv, which is the degree that really prepares you for, you know, pastoral ministry in the classical sense, meaning like you'll likely go in to get ordained in some denomination. What's fun, I go to a church that is part of the Alliance of Baptists, which is a progressive branch within the Baptist movement. We go way back. We're like abolitionists, baby. It's like the cool Baptist, not like your mom's Baptist. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, I was realizing I didn't like, why was I doing this anymore? And, you know, I thought that like, you know, I had done all of my homework, right? But there always seems to be one more thing, you know, holler at me if you know what I'm talking about. The thing of, well, I thought that I like, you know, I already pulled this one card out. I'm fine. For me, the thing was like, okay, I solved the homosexual question, right? I solved the can I be gay, queer, trans, bisexual, ace, etc. Whoever I am, I'm allowed to be that. Wonderful. That's amazing. Thanks, God. And then if you're like me, it was once you pulled that little string, it's just like the string kept going. And then it's like, okay, racial justice. Okay, that's interesting. I see how this intersects with this part of the tapestry. But then you keep pulling, you're like, oh God, environmental justice. And I see how this, oh, ecofeminism. Okay, just like, oh, indigenous cultures and justice for indigenous people. Oh my God, America's a bad place after all. And also evangelicalism has been getting in bed with the government since really since they were trying to fight desegregation, not abortion. That's something they don't tell you. And then you just continue to get freaked out, and you just pull it and you pull it and you pull it until you have a big, like there's a lot of strings and it's everywhere and you're kind of wrapped up in it so much and you just freeze and you're stuck. Anybody feel that? I think a lot of times we get stuck there in those moments, or at least in some ways we get arrested, you know, in those places, like kind of like not arrested in the sense like of a police person arresting you, but arrested like an arrested development. We get stopped, like we just like our bodies or our spirits just stop. And then we get the question of just why do we believe what we do? I think the last time I had my my last epistemological rupture, which is a really fancy way of saying the last time my faith brain broke, if you will. The last time my you know, last like bit of deconstruction that really just like cracked open everything. I was in seminary. It's my first day. We're sitting in what we called Old Testament class to study what we should call the Hebrew Bible. And I walk in, I sit down, and I begin hearing the lecture from the professor, incredible man. And he begins to tell us how this book that we call the Hebrew Bible was formed. And he very casually states that it comes from 3 different sources from among the writings that were important to the tribes that would become the people of Israel. And so there are different, if you look at these things like right next to each other, it's like this is stitched from this and this is stitched from this, all in the same passage. You clearly see why there are so many seeming, what is it called? The word where you like make you make a mistake about something you said, contradict, when you contradict yourself. That's it. Thank you. Shout out to Piper in the chat. That's why there seems to be so many contradictions in the Old Testament, is because they're coming from 3 different sources, 3 different people with 3 different ideas about what it meant to follow God. You know, what it meant to follow Yahweh for the Old Testament. And that's when it just kind of clicked with me for the first time. It was almost like the fog had cleared, and I was just like, oh my God, we've been making this up the whole time. And I just looked around and I was just like, oh no. And it wasn't like, I wasn't afraid of hell. I wasn't afraid of losing like the people closest to me. I was just thinking, I've been so foolish. I've been wasting my time on this. It's not real. None of it's real. We've been making it up. It's only as real as we want it to be. And I just lost it. I was a seminary student who was getting most of my seminary degree paid for. And then I was like, oh, no. Okay, what do I do? And funny enough, I was also in those moments exploring expansive spiritual practices. I was somebody who, like, you know, I was already like playing with tarot cards on the low, because I was just like, I'm still a Christian. I just like, this is just like my secret thing. But then it became not so secret, because, like, you know, fast forward, I'm sitting out under the full moon on my seminary campus on a blanket with my candles and my tarot cards and my joint. And I'm sitting there going, oh, am I kind of a witch too? Wait, oh, who does witchcraft? Witches do witchcraft. I think this is like, some people would call this witchcraft. Am I a witch? Huh? And so like that sent me on this whole journey of like, okay, so like I am doing these things that I'm feeling connected to God, but other people say that it's this, and I just fear. I just was so afraid. I was so incredibly afraid of what I was like. Who was I? Who was I without the church? Was I allowed to be Christian if I still did this other thing? Was I allowed? Did Jesus, do you still like me? Jesus, do you still want to be my friend if I also like hang out with my ancestors? Jesus, do you still want to be my friend if I practice yoga and read, the sutras? What if I read the Gita? I can't ever pronounce Bhagavad Gita. Not tonight. The Gita. What if I, read poetry of Audre Lorde, a Black lesbian, and found truth in that? What then? What did that mean for the holy at that point? We're all making up it anyways, right? And so I let the fear wash over me, and I'm going to be such a nerd in this moment, and I'm going to quote Dune, Frank Herbert. It's the litany. Like any Dune fans out there, tell me in the chat if you love a Dune moment, and also what you thought of Timothée Chalamet in Dune, and Zendaya. I thought that I know she's going to be more in the second one, but I came to see Zendaya. Anyways, there's a part in Dune where a group called the Bene Gesserit, which is like a bunch of like space nuns, political space nuns is what we could call them, which ironically is also my gender. Political space nun. That's great. But they have this thing called the Litany for Fear, and it goes a little something like this. It's just like, I cannot fear, or I should not fear. Fear is the little death. Fear is the little thought that obliterates everything. I will face my fear. I will let it pass over and through me. And when fear has gone, I will see the path that it has taken. When it is gone, nothing shall remain. When it is gone, only I shall remain. I'm going to let it pass over and through me. And so I tried that. But before I believed it, I went into the office of student life, and I talked to one of the chaplains on campus, and I said, I don't know if I'm a Christian anymore. And also I'm supposed to preach in chapel on Friday. So like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And she said, well, I can tell you that God still loves you. And like, that's kind of all you need, I think. And I liked that she added the I think. Because how did she know that for sure? That was a question I really wanted to start to get into. So, and maybe like you are in that kind of same space too, where I don't know where a lot of y'all are at. There's 81 of us in the room. Maybe you are fresh out the closet. Maybe you're still in the closet and you're trying to figure out a way to come out of the closet. Maybe you are an ally and you are like, okay, I'm deconstructing my faith. So maybe you don't even call yourself a Christian and you're in the room. Maybe you're a dirty agnostic like me. I gotta say, it's okay wherever you're at. And it's okay because it just is. And so more than anything in my degree, I kept going because I have a really good friend. His name is Daniel Bass. And Daniel, and he sat down, he's like, Kevin, you're getting it paid for. You just have one more year. You can get this thing done. And I was like, okay, fine. And I'm really, really glad he did, because this degree really pushed me to ask the question, why do any of us believe what we do? And why are we doing the things that we're doing? You know, why are we shaping worship services the ways that we're shaping them? Why are we preaching from the text that we preach from? Why can other things be scripture? Can other things be holy? Can other songs be worship? And then there was also the part of me that was just like running away from evangelicalism, because it was just like, I am not here for this I love you sky daddy boyfriend, please don't kill me or send my friends to hell, amen kind of music. You know what I'm saying? Someone says maybe you're a Christian agnostic. Maybe. And so here's the thing that's funny is I don't care. I do not care about having a label anymore, mostly because I don't think anything sticks at the moment. I was really racking my brain for a long while about what do I call myself right now? Because what do we know? Grew up Christian, still a member at a church, still like to lead worship at this church from time to time, and might also be like helping a friend out with a project for worship music soon. I talk about Jesus a lot, and a more radical way of loving people through the teachings of Jesus, because I just think it's pretty badass. I read a text called A Course in Miracles. I practice meditation and yoga. I give what money I can when I'm not paying down my student loans, which is also why I voted for you, Joe Biden, but that's another workshop for another time. Let me sip. And I also read tarot cards, and I'm also non-monogamous, and I'm also I've got tattoos and a nose piercing, and I'm not, you know, sometimes I wear a dress and lipstick in public while I'll also have a beard. Like, you know, what does all that say about me? You know? And so I think like I'm more interested in the question that Jesus asked, which is, who do you say that I am? Who do you say that I am? Because if people look at my life and they say, oh yeah, you look like this, looks like Jesus-ish, so you're probably a Christian. And I'm like, sure, sounds great. Some people are going to look at me and say, you're in league with the devil. And I'll be like, it's possible, you know, like, I guess we'll find out, right? But the only thing I have to go on is right now. The only thing I have to go on is, what is it doing for me? Like I said earlier, I think a big part of the work, and I don't even like saying work, is because in truth, it becomes the most effortless thing in the world, you know? So I'm coming to you tonight to share a little bit of my practice with you. But what I really think about it is that you can't really share like practice with someone. You can only show them, you know? It's like trying to explain love to somebody, right? You can't actually explain love to somebody. Love is not a feeling. Love is an experience, right? Love is an experience. And I think that many of us have had a taste of that love somewhere along the lines. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be here, right? Trying to figure out like, okay, I know that I felt something, right? I know that somewhere in those imperfect spaces, I think I might have touched God. I don't know, but I touched something. I think I touched love. I think I got a little bit closer. And I would like to say that you probably did. Congratulations, you've had a spiritual experience. You may have had an encounter with God. What if you did? It's just as likely that you didn't, but it's also just as likely that you did, you know? So before I go any further, I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do real quick is I'm going to quote some Holy Scripture. I'm gonna lead you through a meditative practice. And then we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about what we experienced in that place. And then I'm gonna share with you some of my ideas around how we can take, even just in the tiniest ways, small practices that can help us come back to that sense of love that we all have and deserve. You know what I'm saying? Also, I'm not going to browbeat you about the benefits of meditation. You've already read them. You already know them. It's like, I know that if I just did this, I would feel so much better. So why don't I do it? I don't know. I just rather think, and this is not me shaming you, because I binged all of the latest season of Doctor Who yesterday. So like, I'm not here to say this bad. I'm saying, like, do anything you want to do. And if you want to feel better, you should try this. Okay? You should just try it. I started my practice when my dad went into hospice care. And for some reason, I thought that I couldn't cry. I got the news he was going into hospice care. I couldn't cry. And I'm like, oh, I need to do something. And I'm like, I'm going to go to a yoga class. Turned out to be a hot yoga class. And the studio was packed. And this is the first time I'm ever like getting into the groove, first time getting into it. And I get through the practice and I just sob while I'm lying in like Shavasana, which is the corpse pose at the very end when you're just so tired. And I just sobbed, and I knew in that moment, I said, okay, this is important. This moving thing that I just did helped me feel something that I haven't been able to feel because I've been in survival mode for so long. I was in a not so great relationship. My dad and I hadn't talked in years, and he was dying, and I hadn't cried about any of it. I had so much sadness inside. And then I found something, a very, very small something. And that for me was yoga. And so I started practicing, and it just started with, I'm still a Yoga with Adriene stan, if you know Yoga with Adriene. I'm also a big fan of the Underbelly Yoga with Jessamine Stanley. And it's truly changed my life. But it was like the small start with those things that really moved me closer and closer to finding not even a new pathway. There's nothing new about what I teach people or what I'm going to share with you. It's about not even intention, but willingness. Like everyone's just like, I set my New Year's intention. I'm just like, that's great, but what are you willing to do? You know what Rihanna said? Rihanna, our queen, she said, what are you willing to do? What are you willing to do? Anyone know that tune? Let me know in the comments if you do. This is why I miss being in live rooms, because I can get the reactions from the possible jokes that I have in here. It's a little like, there's no way to this can't gauge it this way. Anyways, starting with yoga, started learning meditation, and what I've learned is that it doesn't take a whole lot of effort. I think I was like, oh, I got to sit down for 10 minutes a day and just quiet my mind. I got to quiet my mind. I got to be quiet. Don't try to quiet your mind. Don't try to push thoughts away, but rather, when you meet thoughts with love and compassion, more oftentimes, they will let you go. That's what Byron Katie tells us, is that when I meet every feeling or thought with love and compassion, no matter what it is, they release me, and I don't have to release them. So I want to lead you in a practice that I teach a lot. I teach all of the people I work with. What I do for life stuff is I'm a coach, and what that basically means is I help people create spiritual practices that help their life, help them clear up the trauma, help them get over their fear of God and all the other BS that's been plaguing them for so long. And what I do is I basically just show people what my practice is. I share different ideas and techniques. I ask and hold space for the hard shit that comes up. And I do it in groups, and I also do it one-to-one. And what I've noticed every single time is that people have said, I didn't know it was that easy. I didn't know it was that easy to hear the voice of God, the voice of love within myself. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty fucking cool, huh? Did you know? It's like that still small voice, like that has been in you the whole time. You know, it's like that intuition that you've been ignoring this whole time. Isn't that funny? And they sit. So I'm going to share with you one of my practices. Who said that quote? Byron Katie. Byron Katie has a book called A Mind at Home with Itself and also Loving What Is. I would start with Loving What Is if you want to get into it. Her work is a little bit more, unless if you're into the woo-woo kind of stuff, you're good. You gotta like in Loving What Is, there's a little bit like dated language around trans folk in one of the chapters, but it was written in 2001 before even I had, any of us maybe had consciousness of trans stuff, unless you've been trans a long time or been alive a long time. Anyways, I'm not gonna. So yeah, warning on that. There's a little bit of, but beyond that, her material is great, and I'm kind of convinced she might be a living saint. But that's another story for another time. But yeah, the quote is, when I meet all of my thoughts with love and compassion, they let me go, and I don't have to let them go. Okay, so now let's move into a little bit of a meditative practice. And this is going to be truly choose your own adventure on this stuff, because one more time, the person's name is Byron Katie. Byron, second name Katie. Did I do it right? I got it right. I can only finger spell, so please, I'm very sorry. Okay. So with this meditation, it's going to be choose your own adventure in many ways, because first of all, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to do this, because I'm not the boss of you. I'm just telling you it's going to feel really good probably. Two, if you've never meditated before, or you've meditated before and a lot of feelings start coming up, maybe you feel like you're going to start to cry a little bit, that's okay. If it feels just a little uncomfortable and you feel like you can just hold yourself in that compassion, try to stick with it. And if you feel at any moment that it's too much, or that you feel overstimulated, or that this does not feel good for any reason and you don't want to do this, you just take a deep breath, return to your room, and just hang out, maybe pop off the line, go grab some water, come back in a little bit, and then we'll actually discuss in the group what happened for all of us, whether it was good or whether it was not so good. Because I want to know, because I believe that these kinds of things can be really helpful, and they also can be safe. So again, please take care of yourself in whatever way that means, which means if your body says stop, listen. Okay? It's not that hard, okay? I mean, I'm saying this as somebody who's been practicing my shit for like a few years now, and I do it for a job, so like of course it's easy for me. Always easier said than done. When I sound like an asshole like that, I want you to pop me in the mouth, but not really, because I'm nonviolent. So just lovingly correct me. Okay. And then we'll do ASMR after this, for those of you who are weirdos like me. I'm joking. Okay. Yes, that's the quote. Thanks, Billy Joy Carson in the chat. Okay, so let's get into this meditation. I'll move my mic a little closer so you can get the deep, sultry tones. And wherever you are, whatever you're doing, as long as you're not driving or watching children, or if you are somebody who is hard of hearing or deaf and you need to keep your eyes open to watch the translator, please do so. So if you can, as you're able, go ahead and breathe in. Let your eyes either have a soft gaze at the screen watching the interpreter, or let your eyes just gently close. Seeing if you can even match my breath as we're going. letting your shoulders relax, letting your neck maybe find a little bit of gentle movement. Letting your arms, hands grow heavy. Letting your chest and your heart just open up and relax. Your spine loosens ever so slightly as every muscle relaxes. Your lower back finding support from the chair or the ground below you. Your hips finding a rootedness, almost as if they were growing roots down into the earth. Your legs, your thighs, your knees, your calves and shins, all the way down to your heels and toes. Just try to let go a little more. And now check in. How are you? What's this weekend been like for you? What has felt inspiring to you? What has broken your heart? What is bringing you joy? Continuing to let your breath deepen. As you breathe in, I want you to just picture yourself in the room that you're sitting in now, almost as if you were floating above where you're sitting. See the room, see you sitting there, eyes closed or open. See your body relaxed. And as you breathe in this light feeling, you begin to float upwards, moving past the roof of your house. And not in an uncontrolled way, not in a way where you're being snatched, but in a way that you are just easily drifting. And as you float further up, you see the lights of your town, your county, your city, your region, until you are so far up you can see the horizon of the earth coming into perspective, becoming increasingly smaller as you float effortlessly. And as you move, you turn your eyes outward as you begin moving towards all of this beautiful light, moving through the cosmos, letting your body move freely, effortlessly. Maybe even letting a sense of weightlessness continue to let your mind draw you higher. And as you breathe in, maybe focus on a single point of light. And as you breathe in, let yourself move closer to that light. And as you get closer to this light, you see a scene coming into view, a space of great peace, a place where your soul lives undisturbed by the things happening in this world, undisturbed by even your active mind. And we'll take this journey together as we take breath number 3. The scene is becoming clear, your mind opening to it. As you take another deep breath, you find yourself moving into that space, clearly seeing every single detail. Maybe it's a nature scene, a beach, trees, a room in a house that feels like home. And on your final breath, Settle into it. Look around in this space and see your hands as you would in the normal world, whatever the normal world is. See your feet. See the room or the space. Feel the temperature. The space of peace. What does it feel like? What does your body and mind feel while you're here? This place of peace within your mind is available to you at any moment. This place of peace is where you always are and you always can return to. Now, as we take just a few more moments, I want us to be a little brave together and practice our holy imagination. I want us to call love into this space with us. Love in whatever form would be most beneficial to you right now. Maybe love looks like a loved one who's passed on and is with your ancestors now. Maybe love looks like an angel or the person of Jesus or the Buddha, one of the many Marys we have. Maybe it looks like a friend. Maybe it takes the shape of an animal. Maybe it's just light itself. Love in whatever form you take. Love of our many names. We welcome you. And we just see you now. What form does love take for you? Now ask love, what do I need to hear right now? What do you need to tell me so that I can just go further, so that I can finally heal, so that I can be happy? And just take a moment to listen to what love may be speaking. What would love say? And if you're having trouble imagining any of this, or if you're having trouble, just continue to focus on your breath. And if you're having trouble imagining what love sounds like, you can borrow some of these words. You are my beloved flower. I see you bloom. I see when you are picked. I see when you wilt. And yet I still see the seeds that you pass on, the love that you give to the world around you without any ask for return. And yet you weep when you wilt, forgetting that you already continued on, and that in springtime, when it comes again, you will bloom again. So rather than weeping when your seeds go away, when you spread them out, knowing that it brings the end to something, you can say, there I go. There I go. Because that is what I feel about you. I see you, my love, going out into the world, and I say, there I go. And you might not even know that I'm with you, but I am. So know that if you felt alone, you can come home to this. Come home to this space. Just for a while. Just for a moment, you can come home to peace. And let love restore you. Come back to this space often. Come back to this love as often as you can so that you can remember. Heaven now is just a thought away for you. Healing is just a breath away. Just take a few more moments to take a physical, mental, spiritual snapshot of where you are right now. Because if you can remember what this feels like, you can always return to it, and your body already knows how to get here. Your body instinctively knows how to feel peace. It is we who do not know how to stop and let our body return to its natural state of peace. But we learn today. We welcome more of this peace. Take a deep breath in. Love, in whatever form you came, we thank you for your presence. Bodies, we thank you for holding us and creating this alongside us. And I think every single person who decided to come sit and share your practice with me tonight, I'm so honored and grateful for you. As you begin to deepen your breath, let your mind begin to move you back towards the earth. As you turn from the cosmos and you focus on our beautiful blue dot in space, it gets closer as you breathe in. The region where you live becomes clearer, the lights in the city where you live. Your neighborhood comes into focus, your street gets closer, and then you just come back into your room. You see yourself there, at ease, at peace. And as you breathe, maybe you can go ahead and start wiggling your fingers and toes, maybe rolling your shoulders if that feels good. And then as you breathe in, you can go ahead and return to the space. All right. So, how was that, friends? What did that feel like? Tell me about your feelings in the chat. One says, that was fucking amazing. Damn. Great. Good to hear. What else? Gut triad, too strong, I had to tap out. Very good on loving yourself, Alan. Thank you. Loved it. That was nice. Yeah, that's good. Really relaxing. Good. Very so relaxed and safe. Got a phone call. Yeah, that happens. Fell halfway because I'm struggling. That's good to know. Also, by the way, if we're doing questions, make sure that you get that in the Q&A box as we're going. Peaceful, simultaneously lighted, air, and grounded. Yes. Angry, sad, thankful. Interesting. A little sad, relaxing. Yes. You have a very calming energy, the meditation. Oh, well, thank you very much, Tyler. So this is what I do for myself. This is what I think is possibly the thing that was like missing for all of my Christian time. This is. Sorry, I'm reading the chat to make sure I'm not missing anything. Already said, I think I had the revelation. I heard you already are a person. You already are the person you are becoming. Yes. Okay. Thank you for providing the voice of love for those who struggle to feel or know love. I'm very glad to. And that's the thing. When I say like the voice of love, I really do mean love is going to come to us in whatever form is going to be helpful. You know, said another way, God is going to come to us in whatever form is going to be the most helpful. And so what I think is kind of like something already said, just that's very lovely. Did anybody else have like something that you feel like you heard or felt in your person as we were going through this? Because I just want to say, you're not crazy. Let me not use that word. You're not insane. And I mean that in a very literal sense. You're not just hearing things in your head, I think. I believe that is God. I believe that it is actually love. I believe it is, yes, like Andy said, I heard Jesus tell me he loves me. And I think he does. Oof. Because here's like my personal belief is, even though I wouldn't call myself a Christian, I still think that I know that I have a relationship with Jesus, the metaphysical Jesus, the one from who got killed and allegedly possibly rose from the dead again. I mean, I think it's no crazier than anything else I read about the universe, right? Jenna said, you are enough. And so I need this. So yeah, this is why I do it. This is why I meditate. And I think that when we meditate, when we take time to go there, to let our minds move into that place, to access that feeling of love, we get clarity. And more than anything, that is what I'm looking for in my life. I'm looking for peace. I'm looking for clarity. And that for me is God. When I'm at peace, when I'm at home in my body, that is what the connection to God feels like. Peace is the presence of God, in my opinion. And I will say it's a peace absent of inner conflict. And also kind of like, I mean, maybe not even outer conflict. Peace without inner conflict. I say this a lot to my people when I work with them and I'm teaching them how to do this stuff, is this is not magic. This is math. I started off just doing 5 minutes a day, just sitting for 5 minutes and focusing on my breathing. And that didn't work. And then I quit. And I was like, oh crap, well, I got to get back on this. So how do I do that? Okay, I'm going to find an app. I used the Headspace app for a long time. It really helped me learn how to train that thing of just watching my thoughts, observing them and letting them go. And I had to keep showing up. Just try it. Just try 5 minutes a day. Even if in 5 minutes, the little voice on the guided meditation says, just come back to the breath. And you're like, oh, I was thinking about Wendy's. That spicy chicken sandwich just really gets me. You know what I'm saying? Oh. Or you're sitting there and you're thinking, oh, I'm hungry. Oh, come back to the breath. Oh, but what about the election? Come back to the breath. Oh, but come back to the breath. And you just do that. And I know that sounds it's like, oh, it can't be that simple. Beloved, we have been taught that love and peace only come as a result of sacrifice, and that is not true. That is capitalism speaking. There's so many of us who think that, who have been taught that to have this feeling of sweetness in our body, this feeling of connectedness to God, is that we couldn't possibly do that. We're not holy enough. You're not good enough. Like, we're not, like, we don't deserve to feel this good. Beloved, we deserve to feel good. And not only do we deserve to feel good, but it is our duty. Like, what else are we here for? Because when I understand that when I am healed, I'm not healed alone. So it's not like I'm just falling into hedonism by taking care of myself. In fact, when I take care of myself, when I love myself enough to slow down and create a space for just me where I can say, what the fuck is going on in my head and in my body and in my heart? And how am I going to love myself no matter what? If I am not selfish enough to do that, I have nothing to give. I have nothing to give the world. And so really be selfish. And let me tell you what, 5 minutes a day is not selfish. Okay? A lot of people will say, it's like, oh, I struggle with it. I'm like, listen, ADHD over here, baby. I get it. My mind still runs around. And it is hard at the beginning. Everyone, even people who struggle with the most intrusive of thoughts, like, if you struggle with intrusive thoughts, you can't afford not to meditate. You know, like, this is something you have, like, this will save your life, dead ass. So what I do 5 minutes a day, whether it is I'm listening to a guided meditation, I'm doing it on my own, I'm reading a book, you know, I'm reading some poetry and meditating on that. Oh, by the way, this is the part, if you want to take some notes, I'm going to give like some practical things that you can try in the way of creating spiritual practices that I have found to be helpful for a lot of people that I work with. And one of them is movement and meditation. Meditation, 5 minutes a day. I love the app called Plum Village. It is by the Plum Village spiritual community that was started by Thich Nhat Hanh, God rest his soul. Thich Nhat Hanh was a spiritual, a saint among us, honestly. But he really started the conscious Buddhist movement and was a Zen master, wrote so many beautiful books on mindfulness. And I think he was the one who kind of taught me the meaning of eternal life. And he said, actually, shortly before he died, he said, when I die, please don't make a shrine to me. Don't put my ashes in a jar and limit me and my form. But if you must, put a sign on the inside that says, I am not here. And put a sign on the outside that says, I am also not here. If I am anywhere, I am in your mindful breathing and your peaceful steps. If I am anywhere, I am in your mindful breathing and your peaceful steps. Sounded so much like, at any time you eat this bread and drink this cup. You know what I'm saying? Oof. That's what it means to have eternal life. To feel love and have love, and that love live on in the lives of everyone you love. That's it. So try to find 5 minutes a day. You can do it. And if you can't, get someone else to be your meditation buddy. It's very simple. And that's the thing. It's like, this is not difficult. This is just different. And that's something you got to tell yourselves. Oh, it's so hard to meditate. It's not. You see this? This is not hard. That's all you do. You just did it for like 15 minutes with somebody guiding you. So don't tell me you can't do it. You just proved that you could. Unless you said it was bad and you had to tap out. If that was not good for you, I want to tell you that is okay and expected. Try it in small doses. Try microdosing your mindfulness, if you will. So where you're like 1 minute, and then expand it to 2 minutes, and then 3 minutes. Do it in little bits. I'll also say, I think that we all, in whatever our ability level is, we got to find a movement practice that works for us, whether that is, I'm gonna go take, what is that TikTok, like stupid walk for my stupid mental health that people have been saying on TikTok. Go take that walk. It really does, like, if you can. Microdosing your mindfulness is going to be my 4th book, you guys. Move your body in a way that feels good. For me, I've been getting into Olympic weightlifting recently. It's a lot of fun, and I never thought I'd be that person who liked the gym. It's so fun. It's really, really cool. I would also say that if possible, as you're able, find people to connect with. I know everyone says like, you got to find your people, which like is the most annoying thing, because again, like we're all like basically in queer diaspora, right? We're like spread out all over the place, and that can be really, really hard to find our people. So what I would say is get connected with the people at this conference. Mama, there are 77 people in this room right now, and at least 76 of them want to be friends with you. You know, one person probably doesn't. I'll be your friend if no one else does. Just find me on Twitter and Instagram. I'll be your friend. But I think like I would also say, as able, try to make friends with non-religious people. Like sounds like, for my deconstruction at least, and just like I needed to find people who were not triggered by the same things I was triggered by, who could just be like, oh, that's so interesting. Like, you know, how can I, love you through this? Rather than like just finding like hanging out with the same people who understand our same really, really, really niche references. I mean, like, I just don't want my youth group experience to be my whole personality. You know what I'm saying? So that's, if I were to give you any sort of advice, is if that meditation was helpful for you, then you already understand. I mean, like, my question for you is like, what would it be like for you to feel that feeling all the time? What would it be like for you to believe that you have access to love's presence and that you could just breathe and return? Breathe and remember. I think this is honestly like that feeling of peace that many of us were able to tap into. I think that's what Jesus was talking about. I think that's what so many of the spiritual teachers from history are talking about. That's the peace that passes understanding. And to me, like, that is God. I mean, I just want to be in God's presence all the time. It's all I care about. It's all I think about. And also, it feels good. I keep my meditation practice not because I'm holy, but because I am the most stressed out motherfucker on this planet. I need to breathe. I need to feel it all. I need to let it go because I feel better. And that's the thing. Your spiritual practice, whatever you find, it needs to, like, if it's not leading you towards better, if it's not leading you towards peace, if it is not leading you back towards your heart, if it's not increasing the feelings of love you have for yourself and the world around you, why are you doing it? I mean, that's really, why am I doing anything? Why? And rather than just like saying, I don't know. If you don't know, you should figure it out. And I know it's like, well, what do I do? Like, what am I supposed to, just like, try some things on. So let me pull up some questions to make sure I answer all these things. But like, here's my thing. If I was going to like wrap this whole thing up in a bow, it's just like, life after deconstruction is this. It never stops. Your faith, I don't think your faith fell apart. I mean, like, maybe it did. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you what your experience is. I'll tell you what mine is. Mine has been a glorious evolution. If anything, I grew my spiritual body grew to a place where like the religious clothes I was wearing no longer fit my spiritual body. Does that make sense? Like I was like, I'm a size 36 right now, trying to fit into a pair of 28s. And, you know, I turned 30, my body's different now. You know what I'm saying? And let me tell you what, I love being a little bit more thick. I'm really coming into my daddy bear vibe. It's amazing. Anyways, let me get into the questions. Okay. How do we maintain a spiritual practice? I feel like I always get pulled away by life now that I've deconstructed. All right. This is a good one. You need to get on some kind of regularity. For me, if you're good at keeping alarms, like if you're good at keeping stuff, just set an alarm in your phone and just do it. And then set a second alarm for halfway through the day that says, did you do it? Did you meditate? Did you do your practice? And if you haven't, stop right then and do it. The thing that happens with life, and I see it so often with people I work with, is that we start off strong. We start off really, really good. And that's the same thing with every habit. We fall off. We feel bad about the fact that we didn't do it. And the fact that we feel bad about not doing it keeps us from doing it again, even though we know that doing it again would help us feel better. Isn't that fucking whack as shit that our ego does that to us? So for me, find some, I mean, apps are great out there. They've got like, you know, a little street, they've gamified it. It's kind of cute. But it's just like, decide that you want to do it. And then if you forget, no big deal. Just pick it up again. And then if you forget again, pick it up again. I would say, let go of all guilt. God's not out here punishing you for not doing it. God doesn't care if you do it. You know, it's just like, do I want to feel love's presence? This is a way to do it. That's it. There's no guilt. There's no shame. But this is the thing about a practice too. I got to take my shirt off. I'm getting too hot. Oh, I'm taking it off. Sorry. You don't get brownie points for keeping a spiritual practice. You're not a better post-Christian or whatever just because I'm not better because I meditate. I'm just happier than most people, I would say. And so I think that's really what it comes down to. Is just when you recognize the benefit of it, because you have inspired me as you following a path of authenticity and career. I'm so glad, Katrina. Thank you for that. I'll get back to them in just a second. So how do you maintain a spiritual practice? Just decide that you want to do it, and then have a little bit of like grace for yourself. It also recognize it will not change your life overnight. Again, this is not magic. This is math. Small little changes over time. So I think in those moments, it's like one day you just kind of wake up and you realize that, oh, I just feel better. That little buzz of anxiety at the back of my mind that kept me from like being able to relax is just gone. One person I've worked with says just like when I started my practice, it silenced the bully in my head. Like maybe that's what you need. But I would say how you do it is you recognize what it does for you. And you just decide, I want that more than anything else. That's what I did. I decided I want to feel peace more than anything else, period. And that little decision not only helped me with my will, because like once I understood that what it gave me, I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm willing to do that. No question about it. Why wouldn't I want to sit down and meditate? This feels fucking amazing. So recognize the benefit and also focus on the benefit. I know that sounds very, very strange, but when I focus on, man, that feeling I had in meditation was so good. I want that. I want to be in that. How can I remain in consciousness of that? And that's why we practice. So we feel peace, and then we go back out into the world. It says, because I always forget when I get pulled away by life. Of course you forget. And now you get to remember. It's a practice of remembering. So just when you remember, and the more often you practice, the more often you'll remember. It's almost like I'm microdosing peace so that when I go out in the world, I still have some to go. I like this idea. Y'all are really helping me out with some new stuff. Thank you. All right. Is there such a thing as taking too long to deconstruct? I feel sometimes like I'm not reconstructing enough. Hey, Ed, I would like to say Again, you'll be deconstructing for the rest of your life, probably. I think anyone else because we think that it's an arrival point. We think that if we just get the right doctrines or the right theologies, it's going to save us. But what I think what happens is that as the ever expanding cosmos is just apparently ever expanding, and so is God, that means that there's endless knowability to it. It's always more and it's always better. Like that's, at least that's what my experience has been, is that I'm learning all the things that God is not. And once I learned that, it's like, oh my gosh, God, you are better than I ever imagined. Love, you are greater than I ever imagined. And so yeah, no, you're not taking too long. Like, I think, but I will say that a lot of us, I think, get caught up in the questions sometimes, and we don't like, okay, well, what do I do with this? What do I do with this? Like, I don't know how to. Often, this is a belief of mine. If you have a question that feels like it's just unanswerable, it's either that you are not listening to the answer that the Spirit is giving in you from your inner wisdom, or the question is relevant. So for me, that's where I kind of like, I'm just like, okay, so like, well, what do I do with heaven? What if the afterlife? What do I do with that? I don't know if there's an afterlife anymore. And I'm like, oh, it's unknowable. It's unknowable. It's unknowable. But I need an answer. I would feel so much better if I had an answer. You're not getting one. And I was like, okay, so in light of that, what am I going to do? You know, like I can either say like, I'm not really sure, but I trust that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. And so whatever was there at the beginning will also be there at the end, including whatever makes up me and everybody I love. That's where I land, at least. So yeah, no such thing as taking too long. Questions are always going to lead to more questions, which is the beautiful thing. Tyler, thank you. I'm not going to do a tarot reading for us tonight, just because I'd rather just do more questions. If you want to talk tarot stuff, this is my shameless plug. I am teaching a tarot workshop right now. You can still sign up. I'll do more shameless plugs in a minute because that's what I do. And actually, I just want to take it is truly a shameless plug because I love what I do and I'm actually really good at what I do. So, okay. I'd love to know about how we still follow a calling to ordained ministry when deconstruction leads us to a place which, in my mind, is more authentic and real. But it's a faith that carries through fear. Can you truly deconstruct and yet engage with ministry within a denomination? Following, I think that is something that one must answer for themselves, perhaps. I like my church, my little local church. I do not ever want to be involved with a large church or a church that has large polity or complicated structures anymore because of that right there, because I don't think hierarchy works in the long run for what we're trying to do as a community. And again, we don't know how to do that yet. We're still experimenting with how to create a space like that. But I mean, like anything is possible. I know plenty of amazing, like the truth is like, if you're a good pastor and you want to love people well, and you feel like a church is a way for you to do that, like you should do that. Like, regardless of whether it's like a denominational thing or where the church is going to survive, if you feel like that would be a good thing for you to do and it feels good and right to you, you should keep doing that. Because the reality is we need both the person throwing the rocks at the stained glass, and we also need did my camera go off? Oh, don't worry, we're still there. We need the person who's throwing the rocks at the stained glass, and we also need the person who's working inside. You know, we need the person who is who has the leverage, you know, as much as we need the profit on the outside. So it's kind of and a question for yourself. I am somebody who I have found so much frustration within denomination. Thank you, 15. So much frustration within the polity of denominationalism. It's just like, reform it if you want to. It's none of my business. And I just feel like I'll be here to catch the people who leave. You know, that's my role. I hope that was helpful. Because like, here's the thing. It's like, if you want to go get ordained, go get ordained. It would also be like such a delicious like middle finger to all the people who say that we can't get ordained as progressive queer people. So do it. Honestly, that's one of the reasons I sometimes want to get ordained, just as a middle finger, to have REV in the front of my name. It's like, I think I want to do the middle finger thing. Yeah, you should. How did you approach deconstructing your faith/beliefs? Were there books, podcasts that you found helpful? I just bought your book and I'm looking forward to reading it. Thanks, Ashley. Oh, God, y'all, if you want to buy my book. Oh, wait a second. I'm coming, don't worry. I do have a book recommendation. Okay, this is my book. It's called Bad Theology Kills, Undoing Toxic Belief and Reclaiming Your Spiritual Authority. Published it 2 years ago, next weekend. It's the best thing I've ever written. I'm not even joking. I love it so much. And it kind of covers a lot in there. For me, I should answer live, right? The approach, I don't think that there was an approach to it. It was just that like things just started falling apart. Ironically, Rob Bell was like a precursor to it. Like Velvet Elvis, when I was 16, gave me the language that faith should be able to be stretched and understood. And able to still, like, you know, if a faith can't, you know, hold up without all these springs, then that's data. I think it was my sexuality at first. I had to figure out, is it okay for me to be queer and Christian? And then it was okay for me to be queer and also maybe not Christian or not strictly a Christian. So it took a while. So I think that the books that started out for me were all the queer books. So God and the Gay Christian and Torn and all of those things. I think one of my favorite books is actually an older book. It's by Madeleine L'Engle. It's called A Circle of Quiet. That's one of my favorite books. And it's not even about deconstruction, but just it's a really refreshing book on faith and creativity. Yeah, I think what I did was I searched for things that got me closer to God and helped me feel inspired. And it didn't always look like Christian books either. As a woo-woo person, I've read The Spiral Dance by Starhawk. It's one of my, I think that's just one of the most beautiful, it's basically pagan theology. It's delicious. I started reading the books and writings of Baha'u'llah, and that's the prophet of the Baha'i faith. And so I started reading poetry, like Audre Lorde's poetry, Nikki Giovanni, a lot of Black lesbian poetry. Octavia Butler, like, yeah, just I started to read. It was kind of like all the progressive stuff just kind of became poetry and religious text to me. Oh, James Cone, Black Liberation Theology, the Cross and the Lynching Tree podcasts. I'm going to plug my own podcast while we're here too. A Tiny Revolution is my podcast. I also have another one called Your Favorite Ants. And I'm starting a third one called Let's Deconstruct Everything. So that's coming out next month. So come on in for that. Yeah. And then there's also my book, Bad Theology Kills. I would love for you to read it. Wait, why is it blurring out? It's me. Bad Theology Kills. It's at badtheologykills.com. Cool. Let's get a couple more questions. Is it possible for you to book you for a tarot reading? Yes, you can do that on my website at thekevingarcia.com. I think we already answered that one. Statement like Christian is Buddhism for the West. I've never heard that. I don't. This question about a statement that Christianity is Buddhism in the West, or Buddhism for the West, thoughts? No. I would just say no. Buddhism is Buddhism for the West at this point. Christianity is a blight upon the West, in my opinion. But that's, again, I'm a curmudgeon. Describing your spirituality sounds so eclectic with real Christian influences. This feels more common in some places, such as the West Coast and across the pound. Doesn't feel like more people in conservative places are moving that way too. Yeah, I would describe myself as spiritually eclectic. This is my, here's my favorite thing. Write this one down if you've written nothing else. The question is it helpful? And I'm talking about a theological idea, or a theology or anything else. Just, is it helpful? And so, like, for example, the doctrine of original sin, is it helpful? Not really. I could tell you all the reasons why, but let's just say not really. And for me, if it's not helpful, I let it go. There's a line from A Course in Miracles that says, give up what you do not want and keep what you do. How happy is the obvious and so easy to do. And like, that's the thing. It's just like, it feels so obvious, and that's because it is. Give it up. Give up everything that does not work. Where they say, eat the meat, spit out the bones, unless you're vegan, in which case, eat the fruit and don't eat the rind. Rind? I think that's what it's called. What do you do if you're Christian but scared of the Bible? Every time I open it up, I'm nervous for being gay or queer, and my post-Southern Baptist comes up. I don't know how to deconstruct. Andy, you do actually. So there's a part of you that already knows that you're beloved of God, that you are loved beyond all measure, that you're loved beyond all measure, that there is absolutely nothing, there's a verse that says nothing. I believe that neither height nor depth, angels nor demons, powers nor principalities, neither things present nor things to come, can separate me from the love of God in Christ Jesus. And so I believe that. I believe nothing. I also believe it says, like, how are we saved? It's by grace through faith. So even at minimum, if homosexuality were a sin, I still would. I cannot believe that anything could separate me from God, because that would put a limit on God. And I'm not going to sit here and say I believe in, a God that is not all the things I know God to be. So when it comes up, that's a young part of you that feels very, very scared still, And so you look at that part of you. I sometimes, like, what I'll do is I'm like, okay, how old is this fear? Where is this coming from? For me, it's oftentimes 14, 15-year-old me, youth group Kevin, who's trying to be a really, really good Christian, who is trying really, really hard not to be gay. And he's so scared because if he's gay, God's not going to love him. And I come in, adult Kevin, and I sit down with younger Kevin. I'm like, hey, tell me. It's like, I think God's afraid of me. Or I think I'm afraid of God. I think God hates me. I think God hates fags. Like, I'm going to go to hell. And then you turn to that part of you and you say, I know that you've heard it said that homosexuals don't enter the kingdom of God, but I tell you that those people don't know what the fuck they were talking about. They mistranslated it. And you already know that. Isn't it funny how we kind of went over this before and you just feel the same thing? And younger you's probably like, yeah, I know. But I just get scared sometimes. And then you look at yourself and say, that's okay. I know it hurts. I know it hurts. But I'm here and I love you and we don't have to be afraid. And that sounds so dumb sometimes, doesn't it? If you've never done that, you might say, oh, that sounds dumb. Your ego might say, that sounds stupid. You mean sitting with myself and talking kindly to myself is going to make me feel better? Answer the question. Answer is yes. I do think it's going to make it feel better. And so I think, again, this is not magic, it's math. You tell yourself a little bit every time. Every time the feeling comes up, you just tell yourself, that's not true. And then you remind yourself of what is true. And then pretty soon, what is true will become the dominant thought in your head the more you practice it. Because think about it this way. You've been taught your entire life to be afraid of yourself, and you're just now stepping into your fullness. It makes total sense that it would take you longer to change your mind about this. But that's what repentance is, right? Repent. Change your mind. That's what repentance means. And I'm gonna, this is a good way to kind of like in and out. Tyler, to answer your question, yes, it's already available for playback. This is what I want to end with. It's kind of on this idea, is that when you allow this thought that you have, like these little thoughts, to change over time, your whole life changes. When you decide, I want peace more than anything else, I want to feel the peace of God more than anything else, and I'm going to practice what gets me into that presence, when it becomes the most important thing in your life, you will have it. A Course in Miracles says that nobody who seeks peace can fail to find it. And I believe that. I believe that if we want love, we will have it. That is God's promise to us. And so, like, you know, the Bible, it's just a book. It's just a book that someone said something about, and you know what? They were wrong. You have just as much authority to interpret scripture for yourself as anybody else. As we begin to love ourselves, remember that it takes time. Remember that it takes willingness, and it takes gentleness. You know, we oftentimes, I look at myself sometimes, and like the phrase I say is, Kevin, you're so stupid. You should be over this by now. You should get this by now. Kevin, you're a meditation teacher. You're a life coach, Kevin. You should be able to do this. And guess what? Yeah, I should. I should be able to just, I am not attached. I am the Buddha. I am the whole universe. I feel good. I struggle with depression, you know? And so that's where the practice comes in, is when the moments when like I'm so overwhelmed, I remind myself that I have a universe of love inside me, and I will hold my pain. I will let my pain be enveloped in my compassion, in God's compassion, which are one and the same, in my opinion. And I will let my pain integrate and let me be transformed. I don't have to push anything away anymore. We don't have to push anything away anymore. And that's what the practice is really about. It's about loving every single part of us, about looking at the anger and saying, yeah, I love you. And I want to feel better with you. Also, Nicole, I'm trying to come to Australia this summer. Me and Matthias are trying to get some things together. So if you get nothing out of this whole evening, I want you to get this. You have access to love's presence at any time, any place, any moment, which is with this. Return to your peace as often as you can. Okay. I just wanted you to get connected with me if you want to. My website is thekevingarcia.com. That's TheKevinGarcia.com. You can also find me on the internet at thekevingarcia. And if this was good for you, if this is awesome for you, and you want to learn more about what it might look to work together, schedule a call with me. I'd love to talk to you. I'm starting the spring cohort at I believe at the end of March. I got to get my dates right. So if you want to learn in community, you want to deconstruct with some friends, if you want to learn a new spiritual practice alongside me and a bunch of other cool people, you can do that. If you're looking for spiritual community right now, my Patreon community, the Discord channel is popping. All the links are in my bio, so that's it. I've loved every moment with you tonight. Thank you for being willing and open to doing this. Oh, shameless plug again, patreon.com/thekevingarcia. If you liked the meditation, I post guided meditations there weekly, and you have access to everything backward, like, all the things. And before we go, do you want to meet my dog, everybody? She's right here. She's right here. Let me turn off my background filter so you can see her properly. Hold on. Don't move, everyone. I know you want to see this. Oh, I can't find it. Tippy, come here. Come here, girl. Oh, come here, baby. This is Tippy. Tippy the dog. Oh, Tippy says she loves you. No matter what you do or who you are, what you believe or don't believe, you are special and I love you. She's just kind of eating me though. Thanks for coming, everyone. Have a great night. Have a great rest of your conference. Find me on the internet. I love you. That's it. Bye. Ouch. Get down.